I'm Paul Levinson, and welcome to Light On, Light Through, episode 134, 3 Absentias. Well, Absentia just put on its third season on Amazon Prime Video a couple of weeks ago, and I've been reviewing it since its first season, which I saw on Amazon Prime in 2018. The series originated on AXN TV in 2017. So I thought I might as well share with you my reviews of all three seasons. And here's a hint. I think the show, which started out as a really excellent show, has been getting better and better. So here's the review I wrote on February 7th, 2018, and I titled it, In Your Face and Worth Watching. I binged Absentia the past few nights on AXN in 2017 and now on Amazon Prime. It starts out with a scenario we've seen before. FBI agent Emily Byrne, played by Castle's Stana Katic, shows up after presumably being held hostage for 6 years and declared dead. But it soon takes off in vivid and far less conventional ways. Her husband, Nick Durand, well played by Patrick Huizenga, also an FBI agent, has happily remarried, and the two are raising the son that Durand had with Emily. Like the OA, The Missing, Season 2, 13, and other reappearance stories, Emily's return continues or sets off a new series of terrible crimes. But Emily Byrne is a much more powerful character than the, quote, victims, unquote, in those other series, with the exception, I guess, of Prairie in the OA, who is powerful enough, but in a more mystical rather than Criminal Minds way. Emily soon becomes both the hunter of the person who held her captive and the hunted. She's implicated in a string of new murders. And the narrative plays it so close to the vest that it's not easy to tell which she is, at least not on the basis of logic, though I never lost faith in her. Unless you think that's a spoiler, it's actually still not clear at the very end what Emily did and didn't do during her years in captivity. Clearly, as she herself recognizes and tells her husband, she's not the same person she was before she was kidnapped. Is it just her mind that's not quite the same, or has she acted on those dark fantasies? Assuming they're fantasies she's been having, not memories. Katic does an outstanding job in this role. I just want to mention that. The supporting cast is excellent too, especially Paul Freeman as Emily's father, Neil Jackson as her brother, and Cara Theobald as Nick's new wife. The plot is tight. I did guess some of the suspects, but I was proven wrong just about every time. This is highly recommended, but not for little children. Now, Absentia 2 came along in 2019, and this is my review from July 5th, 2019. I called this review of Absentia 2 even more there than the first season. Absentias showed up for its second season on Amazon Prime a few weeks ago. I liked it even better than the first for at least 3 reasons. 1, the villain was a terrorist group rather than a serial killer. Emily's story, she was chosen for a combination genetic conditioning experiment to bring out her innate violence, is still paramount. But a prime antagonist is an international group bent on doing lethal damage to society. 2, I like the new characters introduced, especially at the FBI. Rather than Emily as a former current FBI agent against her superiors and colleagues, Season 2 provides a much richer tableau of agents who have all kinds of agendas. 3. In part as a result of number 2, but for other reasons as well, there are more surprises in Season 2, including unexpected deaths and one huge surprise about one of the villains. Now, even in the first season, most of the characters were so conflicted that they easily could have turned out to be demons. This is accentuated in the second season, giving it a more edge-of-your-seat ambience, especially in the concluding episodes. All in all, Absentia has carved out an unusual niche for itself in a television field crowded with female FBI agents all over the screen. Emily has a unique providence with an unusual set of traits, and she slowly is becoming one of my favorite characters on television. And as I said at the beginning of this podcast review, Absentia 3 just came back on Amazon Prime a couple of weeks ago in July. In fact, I just reviewed it in my blog today. So here's my review, which I called Adrenaline and Relevance, posted August 6, 2020. The third season of Absentia was up on Amazon Prime last month. I liked it the best of the 3 seasons so far because, well, I like James Bond-type stories more than a vanished member of the family comes home after 6 years of missing, even if she is a high-powered FBI agent. The new season picks up right after the second season ended and quickly pitches us into international espionage and subterfuge with a searingly all too currently relevant theme. And you can probably guess what that is. The bad guys want to unleash a virus upon the world with a view towards getting rich, distributing an antidote which they also have in their possession. It turns out that Emily was missing for 6 years because she was kidnapped by this group, which also has other maybe related bio, quote, research, unquote, at work, including, I think, developing some kind of super warrior army they can use. Now, I put in those provisos, maybe, I think, because these connections are still not brought into completely clear focus in Season 3, but that's okay, because the action is so quick and powerful, you barely have time to think about the ultimate underpinnings. There's also an excellent development of characters in Emily's family and beyond. In the first 2 seasons, her brother played an important role. He plays a somewhat significant role again, but not as much as Emily's father, Warren, and her son, Flynn, both very well played by Paul Freeman as the father and Patrick McCauley as the son. Hey, let's hear it for multi-generation de facto commandos. Nick also plays a very different role in this third season, becoming the one who's kidnapped, who's in Absentia, pursued relentlessly, of course, by Emily. She's helped by Cal, a not completely trustworthy partner, at least not by Emily, but very effective fighting for her and alongside her. And one of my favorite scenes is how the two get the drop on a group of brutal bad guys and throw them off a hurtling train in the middle of Europe. Another thing you'd expect to find in a James Bond movie. Stana Katic, again, is just great as Emily, as is Patrick Huizenga as Nick, and Matthew Leneves as Cal. Now, speaking of Europe, most of the action takes place in Austria and Germany, and the combination of that and the labs filled with experimented-upon bodies adds a definite Nazi flavor to this narrative. I found that both appropriate and a welcome departure from ISIS or Russia being the root of the villainy. Indeed, immigrants from the Middle East are preyed upon by the nefarious biotech operation, and they emerge as heroes in this story, with Rafiq, well played by Adam Hussein, working with Nick and Emily to free his mother and the other prisoners from the sinister labs. So I give Absentia 3 my highest recommendation for its nonstop action, social relevance, human relationships, and espionage puzzles. And one more Bondian quality that I like, Absentia 3 even has a memorable villain enforcer, Dawkins, right up there with Jaws and some of the other great Bondian killers, played just right by Jeff Bell.
The Light on Light Through podcast.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that review of Absentia, and I'll be back here soon with another episode of Light on Light Through. Who knows, another review, more political commentary, just about anything is possible. In the meantime, enjoy.
Athens, 2042 AD. She ripped the paper in half, then ripped the halves, then ripped what was left again into bits and pieces of history that could have been. Sierra Waters had read once that, years ago, it was thought that men made love for the thrill, while women made love for the sense of connection it gave them.
Curled Up with a Good Book says, Sierra Waters is sexy as hell. You can find out more about The Plot to Save Socrates by Paul Levinson at theplottoSaveSocrates.com.
Paul Levinson spilled code about an ancient biotech war raging on in secret for centuries.